Hello, I'm Sherry Sturman, Director of Crayola Education. We're excited that Candlewick Press is collaborating with Crayola on this read-along, draw-along event. This series helps children enjoy great stories and the illustrations that bring them to life. So get cozy, grab some drawing supplies, and get ready for an interactive story session. I'm thrilled to introduce Flavia Z. Drago, the author and illustrator of the book Gustavo the Shy Ghost. Flavia, when you were a young child, what did you tell everyone you wanted to be when you grew up? And how did your early love of drawing change your career choice?
Well, when I was a little girl, whenever people would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? My answer was, I want to be a mermaid, because The Little Mermaid was very popular. Sadly, that didn't happen. I couldn't grow a fishtail, but that was okay because also as I was growing up, I discovered my love for drawing. And drawing is something that has always been with me throughout my life. And now that I am an illustrator, I get to do that every day, which makes me very happy. And I can always go on holidays and have a little swim and still pretend that I'm a mermaid. So that's fine.
Flavia, before diving into the story, please tell us what inspired this book.
So what inspired this book is many things. First of all, is my love of monsters. I really think that they show us bits that are a bit scary, or bits that we want to ignore about ourselves. And I don't think that they are necessarily scary. Monsters can be misfits, or they can just be misunderstood, or they can just be different. And that's what makes them very lovable. So the other thing that inspired me to create this book were my own experiences as a child. I used to be very, very shy. Growing up, I was just sitting in the corner and then wondering how the other children were just able to talk to each other and have fun and play. Whereas for me, it was very difficult. Unless anyone talked to me first, I wouldn't just go and talk to them. So it's kind of also based on my own experiences as well.
I love your comment about monsters not being scary, but just being misunderstood. Such an important connection to really this idea of friendship and how the book helps us deal with those feelings of friendship and, as you said, shyness. Flavia, we're excited to hear this lovely story. Please read Gustavo the Shy Ghost.
This is Gustavo, and this is how the story starts. When I make my books, I usually enjoy filling them with lots and lots of details so that when you read them again, you notice them. So this is him in the photo booth, and you can see he might be a bit lonely. This is the title page. And this is where the story actually starts. Gustavo was a ghost. He enjoyed doing the normal things that paranormal beings do: passing through walls, making objects fly, and glowing in the dark. But there was nothing in the world that he loved more than playing the violin. Well, almost nothing. Gustavo was secretly in love with Alma, the prettiest monster in town. But he also had a problem. I wonder what his problem would be. You see, Gustavo was so shy that some things felt incredibly difficult for him. And the worst part of it? Making friends was terrifying. Gustavo had never dared to speak to any of the other monsters. So he tried getting close to them in many different ways. But even if he was just right in front of them, they just couldn't see him. Gustavo longed to be a part of something. More than anything, he wanted to make a friend. I have to be brave. I have to let the others see me, he thought. So he decided to send a letter, a very special one. Dear monsters, I would like to invite you to my violin concert, which will take place at the Day of Dead party next full moon at the cemetery. I would be thrilled to see you there. Gustavo, the ghost. As the days went by, Gustavo couldn't stop thinking. What if no one shows up? What if they don't like my music? What if they don't like me? Except tonight was the night, and this time he couldn't hide. What do you think happened? But not a soul had come. So, all alone, Gustavo did what he loved most, and the music made him happy. So happy that he glowed. Oh, how he glowed. Gustavo! Who's here? Alma. We're so sorry we're late. We wanted to get you flowers, but we got lost instead. And then we heard your music and we saw your glow. We really loved your concert. Would you like to hang out with us? And what do you think he said? From that moment on, Gustavo's life changed. And everyone discovered that even if he didn't talk much, he was always the best at helping and protecting his friends. But mostly, Gustavo never stopped surprising them, and they never stopped loving him. The end. And then if you go to the last bit of the book, you can see that he then went on and had many, many, many adventures with his new friends.
Absolutely enjoyed it. And so important what you said about it doesn't matter if he talked much. He was always helping, protecting his friends, ready to surprise them and have an adventure. And that really is the essence of friendship, regardless of how much someone talks or how shy they feel. Thank you.
He didn't change who he was. He just rather decided to be a little bit braver and take that big step, which sometimes you inevitably have to do, which is speak or do something so that people know that you're there and you want to be seen, just like he wanted to be seen.
Such an important point, not changing who we are, but making sure that we're seen and noticed. So what are the main messages that you'd like readers to remember from this story?
And I wanted to share with people that shy people is not necessarily antisocial, but rather we just struggle a bit more to make friends. The other thing is that as a shy person, one of the things that has helped me making other friends is sharing with other people the things that I like, whether it's my love for drawing or my love for music or my love for film. I think that I find that easier to connect with others through the things that I love. It makes me feel less scared of other people, and just share those things helps me.
Such a great connection with others to have shared interest. Great suggestion. Flavia, you grew up in Mexico City. You've traveled around the world and lived in many different countries. How have your Mexican roots and world travels influenced your art, especially the characters that you design and the colors you love to use, even the buildings in your illustrations?
Well, when I started making this book, I was just really excited and really happy to be able to use elements of what it is one of my favorite celebrations in Mexico, which is Day of the Dead, or Día de los Muertos. And Día de los Muertos is a very, very colorful celebration, so I wanted to reflect that in the cover. And in Mexico, we have this color that is called Mexican pink, which is this shade of pink, very bright and very bold. And you can see that color everywhere. You can see that color in the tents in the market. You can see this color in the flowers. You can see this color in dresses and lots of folk art. And so I wanted to reflect this inside the book. But at the same time, I thought that ghosts are kind of melancholic kind of monsters. They belong in the past. I wanted to create a palette that would combine both old black and white or sepia colored pictures and with all of the brightness and colorfulness of the Day of the Dead. And there are many elements that I see in my country that appear in this book, like the houses. Let me show you Gustavo's house. So where he lives is literally a picture. In the neighborhood where I grew up, there's a house that looks like this one, and it's like an abandoned haunted house. And I thought it could be fun to have that to be the house where Gustavo lives. And so I just try to take as many elements as possible and then put them in my book, like the altars for the Day of the Dead, which we call ofrendas, where you place different objects and then a picture of your loved one who has died, and so that helps you remember them. The papel picado. Some of the characters are Mexican skulls, like this is a Catrina, which is a fancy lady skeleton. So there's definitely a lot of elements that I was just very excited to put inside the pages of this book, which is not something you always get the opportunity to do with.
Love how you wove all those ideas into the illustrations. And now that you point them out, we need to go back over and over and see more that we missed the first time. Thank you. Let's talk about your creative process of creating this book. How did you decide when to say something with words and when to say something with a drawing?
That is a very good question. It's funny because I start from the pictures and then I use words to be the companions of the pictures. So the thing that's most important for me is to create a series of images that will tell a story. And then I use the words to maybe explain the bits that I can't just tell with the pictures. I try to avoid being repetitive. For instance, I wouldn't draw a picture of Gustavo looking sad and then say he's looking very sad. I would write something different so that there's always a contrast. That's the ideal scenario. When you get to do that and the story and the words and the images work along together, that's the best outcome.
I love your emphasis on how a drawing can say a message and can replace words. And also this idea of using words to go a layer deeper, not to repeat what you've drawn. Beautiful insights for our viewers, the young artists.
This is, I think, one of my favorite spreads because I wanted to convey the idea that Gustavo is feeling really sad and lonely and that he really wants to get a friend. So I was thinking of things that you have to do with other people so that they're fun. So like this seesaw is only better if you can play with other. And I also wanted to create like a kind of nostalgic atmosphere. That's what I thought that the sunset could work. And it's also very dramatic because So far, the backgrounds have been mostly white, but this is the moment when everything changes, and this is very, very important in this story. So I wanted to just make a bold statement of how he was feeling, trying to reflect that in the colors and the thing that he's doing, and a little bit of his face as well.
Great example. And I love how you point out that the color change let us know it was a tipping point in the story. Beautiful. I'm excited about our first hands-on art experience, where Flavia is going to teach us how to create an invitation for a Day of the Dead event.
The first thing that I'm going to do is grab a piece of cardstock, which then I am going to fold in half. Once I have folded my cardstock in half, I'm going to cut it with scissors. And then I'm going to fold it in half once again. For the bases, we can have many different colors. It's up to you. For the next step, I'm going to draw Gustavo. I'm going to take a piece of white paper, and then I am going to fold it in half, and I am going to cut. Then one more time I am going to fold it in half, and this time I am going to cut the piece of paper into two different parts. This will help me to know how big I need to do my drawing so that I can later on glue it on top of the base of my invitation. Now for the next step, I'm going to draw Gustavo. For drawing Gustavo, the first thing that we need to do is draw half a circle, like this. Then I am going to carry on drawing a straight line, and then I'm going to stop and draw a little bit a wavy line, and then I'm going to join this dot to the half of the circle. What I need to do now is to cut the shape that I have just drawn. Like this. And now we know that we can place Gustavo at the center of the invitation. I'm going to grab my glue stick. I'm going to turn around Gustavo, and I am going to glue him onto the base of the invitation. The next thing I need to do is I'm going to draw the eyes and the details. For the eyes, I'm going to use a marker, and I need to draw two ovals at the top of the head. An oval is like a long circle. Then I am going to draw the mouth. For the mouth, I'm going to make a curved line, and then I'm going to draw the hands, which are curves again. One curvy line and another curvy line. The next step is going to draw the cheeks. For the cheeks, I am going to use a pastel oil because it gives me the texture that I want. And the last thing I'm going to do is to decorate the background. I'm going to use some crayons, different color crayons, and I'm going to draw little dots. And now we have an invitation that we can send to our guests. Now I am going to show you how to draw a sugar skull. For the sugar skull, we need to draw a circle, and at the bottom of the circle we're going to draw a small square. smaller than the circle. The next step is to cut the sugar skull with our scissors. Now I am going to grab another one of my bases, this one, and I am going to glue the skull onto the base. And we'll glue it in the center. The next thing I need to do is the eyes, the nose and the mouth of the skull. So for that, I'm going to take the silhouette of the skull that I had previously done, and I am going to use it as a guide. So I'm going to draw the eyes, which are 2 ovals. The nose is a little triangle, and the mouth is like a small sausage. Then once again, I'm going to grab my scissors and cut the shapes. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, again, I am going to glue the eyes, the nose and the mouth onto the base of my invitation. And now I am going to decorate my sugar skull. Sugar skulls usually have lots of colors and details. We can use different colors. You can draw some dots or spirals, as I have done. If you want to, you can even draw it a mustache, like this. One spiral to one side and another spiral to the other side. I am going to use the quick dry paint sticks to decorate the background. I'm going to use another color. You can use as many colors as you like. The important thing is that you enjoy the process. Now we have 2 invitations.
Well, thank you, Flavia. That was awesome. I'm excited to think about what type of event I'm going to plan and who I'm going to send this invitation to so that we can enjoy the experience together. Now, in our second art experience, Flavia's going to show us how to create a variety of monsters with different textures and different personalities.
For the monster invitations, we're going to grab a piece of color and we're going to create different textures. For instance, I can grab my quick dry paint sticks and I can create some lines. And maybe some dots. I can also grab my pastels and create some texture by scratching around lots and lots of circles. Circles and circles and circles. We can even create more discrete or smaller textures. For instance, I can make smaller dashed lines. We can create some straight lines, one after another, like this. The important thing is to create as many textures as you want to do. You can even grab 2 different colors and use them at the same time. Why not? You can use different colors for the bodies of your monster. Choose the ones you like the most. Now, the next step is we are going to cut out the shape of the monsters. So for my first monster, I want to create a triangular monster, so I'm going to cut the paper in a triangular shape. Looks a little bit more like a drop, but this is fine. For my second monster, I am going to have a circular head and a rectangular body, like this. Maybe for this one, I want to create a zigzag line around the head to give my monster a nice hairstyle. Like this. For the eyes, you can cut smaller circles like this, and for the mouths you can make different shapes. Maybe it can be a shape like this, which is like half moon, or maybe it can be a rectangle, or it can be a sausage looking shape, or half a circle. Anything you want, you can make any shape that you like. I'm going to cut some legs for my monsters as well. So I'm going to cut 2 rectangular shapes for this guy over here. And I think my other monster is going to have purple legs. I'm going to cut small rectangles. You can add some horns if you want. Horns are like pointed triangles, a little bit like this. Maybe your monster can have one eye. Maybe it can have 3 eyes. Or even 5 eyes. It's up to you. You can create whatever you want. The important thing, as I've said, is that you're having fun. We can have more legs, which I've made here with black. So the next thing we're going to do is to glue our monsters onto our invitation. So what I'm going to do is that I will turn around my monster shape, and I am going to keep the bit of the surface that has the texture the other way around, so that I won't be able to look at it as I am gluing the legs and the horns. Add a little bit of glue and then attach the legs. I'm gonna grab my glue stick again, add a little bit of glue, and then I am going to attach the horns. Remember to glue on the side that has no texture at all, so that when you turn it around, you can see the textures on the other side, like this. The next step is to add glue to the entirety of our monster shape, and then we need to glue it onto the surface of our invitation. Then we need to add the eyes, and lastly the mouth. Now that my monster is glued onto the surface, I'm going to finish the details. For the eyes, I'm going to use a marker to add the iris, but because it's a monster, it can have different colored eyes. And then for the pupil, I am going to use black. He's a girl, so I'm going to draw some eyelashes. And again, I'm going to finish decorating the back of my invitation. I hope that you have enjoyed creating our invitations and the story time.
Thank you, Flavia. Wow, there's so many different ways that we can share our monster thoughts and create monster creatures for our invitations. Thank you. Now that you've seen Flavia's wonderful illustrations, it's your time to draw. Grab some crayons, colored paper, markers, and think about what you'd like to create. Invitations to a Day of the Dead event, or a variety of monsters that have different textures and personalities. While kids of all ages are busy drawing, I want to mention to parents and teachers that you can be the first to know about our next read-along, draw-along program and other colorful learning experiences by signing up for the Crayola Education Monthly e-newsletter. Just check the education box to have free learning ideas delivered straight to your email. As young artists are finishing their art, we recommend that parents and teachers ask them about their drawings. Ask kids what brings them great joy and how they overcome shyness. And then post a photo of their drawings in the comment section of this video. We can't wait to see what they create. Flavia, this book beautifully shows us how we can overcome shyness when we let our talents shine and reach out to make new friends. Please offer some closing advice for our viewers about the importance of being seen and heard and welcoming new friends into our lives.
If you're feeling a bit shy, I think also in my experience, other people can be as scared as yourself. So don't be afraid of taking the first step and maybe saying hi. Maybe you can find someone who's drawing, and then you can share your love of drawing together, or you can see someone who's playing football and you can ask them if you can join their team, or you can see someone reading a book and maybe you also like reading books and you can share with them your favorite book. It's wonderful when you make a connection, and sometimes people are more willing to make new friends than you first imagined. So be brave, like Gustavo.
I love that. Connections happening in unexpected ways when we're brave. We want to thank Flavia for inspiring us today, and also want to thank Candlewick Press for collaborating with us on the Read Along, Draw Along program. And a special thank you to all of you who've joined us.
Thank you all so much for joining me in this Draw Along event. Now I want you to grab your invitations and send them to someone you want to have a lovely moment with. Have fun, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.